Hi everyone, my name is John Watson and this is iTechNews. If you are new here, kindly subscribe and hit that bell gizmo so that you will be notified whenever I'm gonna upload my new video. So in this video, we're gonna talk about why iOS is smoother than Android. With that being said, let's begin. Talk about the processors, because the processor is the heart of any smartphone. Whereas iOS, the iPhones are using the Apple's own A series of chipsets, whereas Android companies has to rely on other companies to make the processors for them. Just like MediaTek, just like Qualcomm, Huawei is using its own high silicon killing chips inside their smartphones, but they are using the Android, which is an open platform. And when they put their EMUI skin over it, obviously the experience will be affected because of that. Samsung also has its own version of chipsets, Exynos chips. They are using their own chips, but those chips are not as powerful as Apple's A series chipsets, because Apple was the first one in the market which introduced 64-bit processors. The Android processor companies, they are still progressing really hard to try to catch up with Apple's A series of chipsets. That's the reason that they are not gonna perform as high as Apple's A series of chips. 2. Android is open platform. So many companies across the world, they take Android, put their own version of skin over it, which affects the experience of using the smartphone. And number 2, there are the Google's version of apps pre-installed into that, but so many companies, they put their own version of those apps pre-installed into the smartphone, which gives a load on the smartphone, and that affects the performance on any smartphone. Let's talk about the optimization. The optimization on iPhones is on the next levels. When you look at the Android smartphone companies, they are launching the smartphones of 8GB, 10GB, probably 12GB RAM smartphones, whereas the iPhones, they are 3 or 4GB iPhones. Why it is like that? It is just because Android needs a lot of RAM because it is not so much optimized, and iOS doesn't need so much RAM. And when you look at them neck to neck, the 12GB RAM Android smartphone and 4GB RAM iOS, you will not find so much different because Android is using way too much RAM as compared to the iOS. And iOS is using the 4GB RAM at its full potential. That is what makes it really beneficial over the Android. iOS doesn't need so much RAM in order to run a system just because it is really optimized with the hardware. Let's talk about the battery. Android smartphones, they are coming with a 4000 mAh battery, 5000 mAh battery, probably 6000 maybe in the future. But iOS, even 3000 mAh battery, the iPhone is getting the same amount of screen on time as compared to the 6000 mAh battery of the Android. So where does the rest of the 3000 or 2500 mAh battery goes? It is being wasted just because it is not so much optimized with the hardware. And if the software is optimized with the hardware, it doesn't require so much of battery. Whenever you look at the Apple's keynote, they will always tell you that this iPhone will be having 5 hours more battery life than the previous one. They will never tell you, this iPhone has 5000 mAh battery or 4000 mAh battery, because they know that no matter how much they have it, they can use it in the best possible way. They can use it at its full potential, which Android is not being able to do it. Why? Because their processor is from another company, their software is from another company, and whatever the skin they are putting, it is really heavy skin. And further that, there are pre-installed softwares, which you cannot delete. When you look at the Samsung smartphone, there is Google's apps which are already over there. Then Samsung's own version of those apps, they're already over there. And there's a heavy skin at the top of Android, which makes smartphones experience really slow. But whereas when you look at the iPhone, iPhones doesn't have these kinds of things. iPhone is a very neat and clean system. Yeah, it is boring, It is really, old-fashioned. Since the first iPhone, we haven't seen the change of the layout and so on. We have seen the change of icons and so on in iOS 7, but after that, we haven't seen so much changing in the iOS. It just works, and it works really well. Apps are optimized. I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I hope you guys know why iOS experience is smoother and faster as compared to the Android. Thumbs up if you like it, thumbs down if you don't. It depends on you. I will see you soon.